aggressive growth.
Making sense out of.
Yeah, so you get the whole meet in the first chat. That's even better.
Ransom shield launch.
And,
Hey, Jeff, how are you?
I am good. I'm still apparently on Memorial Day weekend mode. So how are you?
You know, everyone feels like today is Monday. It's not, guys. It's Tuesday. So 2 more days till we're in Dallas, Jeff.
That's absolutely, well, technically I'll be in Dallas tomorrow night. I'll be arriving, and we have the first ever vCon meetup in Dallas taking place on Thursday. That's May 29th at 12 noon it's at Co-America, yes?
Yep.
And it's going to be transformational for those of you who can make it. You get to learn about this new technology, this new something, which really is having a really tremendous effect. You know, it's going to change how people think about AI and how they focus on conversations. And it's a file format. It's a file format which is the first ever standardized file format for conversations in the history of the internet. And the impact of that enables people, AI, businesses to understand context and content and really bring together multi-parties under one framework so that we could look at conversations in email or text, conversations from Zooms and from Teams, and bring it all together and derive value. And it's transformational in terms of just how this just works. I mean, some people may think, gee, you know, we've built our own proprietary format for all our systems. And you know what? That's beautiful. Congratulations. But I have not met a company on this planet that doesn't have to sometimes take their information and share it with another company or another department that's not as integrated. And so having the common language, which bridges together other systems, that's a vCon. It's not Volcon. It's not. We're not from Star Trek. We're not Volcon, or for that matter, any other native language of space. But we're talking about vCons and the ability to have a transformational experience where the conversations become the robot food for AI. The output is the brain food for those people who want to better understand what's being said. And this is a game changer. It's a game changer no matter what your profession is, whether you're wholesaling VoIP through SIP, and because now you can take your SIP trunks and sell them as AI trunks. If you happen to be working in the legal profession, I know today's topic is protecting client confidentiality. One of the really cool parts about the frameworks for vCons and SCIT is the framework for memory and trust, and the ability for end users or just people to identify how information that's captured can be used for a specific purpose.
Right.
The idea of consent with purpose. But you know, from a legal framework perspective, you know, imagine you're running a law practice, and you want to, you know, and your lawyers or team is dealing with clients all the time, and you want to be able to understand the efficiencies in your office. The vCons can capture conversations between clients and the professionals. They can also, you know, I mean, you know, you can, once you have captured those conversations, you could then better prioritize who to get back to. I mean, imagine, you know, something as simple as an intake where, you know, you use the vCons to figure out to triage the need of certain people to get help. Because you maybe you're a small practice and you got overwhelmed and a lot of people want your attention. You could use the vCons as a way to weight the people or needs for how the best way you could optimize the process. I was at I think it was the Cloud Computing Alliance, the CCA. I was sitting there in St. Petersburg a couple of months ago, or feels like a couple of months. It was April, so almost more than a month ago. And at my table was the partner of a sole practitioner who was a lawyer. And when I explained what vCons could do, she basically, her eyes lit up and said this could be transformational for her office. And I said, yes, you could run everything behind your firewall. Mm-hmm. You can transcribe conversations. You can capture those interactions via email. You can connect that to your customer records. You can connect that to history. And she was just thinking about how she ran her practice, and in the case of a small, medium-sized office, using a vCon to capture the conversations each day game changer. Being able to have total recall for every messages that have been sent out and received is transformational. And she was not skeptical for using AI. She was very much into ChatGPT and prompting. But explained that ChatGPT can natively read a vCon and understand what was said, and then provide, the ability to do what if this, what if that, and then push. It just, her eyes lit up, and it's sort of like I was sharing with her different needles and different haystacks of things that she didn't even know was conceivable or possible. And what's the cost? The cost is just literally capturing the conversation and storing it in a standardized file format. So it's a game changer. And so, there are a lot of companies which have ignored AI. I mean, people individually may be using AI for this or AI for that. And sure, some companies are AI forward, and that's amazing. And then there's a whole group of companies where even to this very day, people are not allowed to use AI at the desktop behind their firewalls. They're scared, they're worried for different reasons. Deep fakes is a big issue. Lots of ways. It's easy to make lots of excuses why not.
Right.
But people who want to build services, I mean, the reality is if you're a UCaaS provider or a CPaaS provider, while it's wonderful that you're in those businesses, a lot of these people, when you look at one versus the other, they suffer from sameness.
Yep.
In the end, do you really want to be playing on a minutes per? You want to be playing a price game where you're driving down, to who's cheaper than the other? I say no. When you start to understand the power of the vCon, you'll start to understand your own ability to add AI smart trunks to your offerings. You'll be able to, instead of being pushing prices down, now you can start raising prices up, and you can start figuring out value added. And the better you understand your customers and your customers' businesses and how they look at information, it's very powerful to provide tools for people to better hear their customers. And because really, if you're a business owner, there's so much information that happens on a conversation. And if you're not part of every conversation, you may be missing the point on certain things. And so having tools that give you scale. I mean, people have been talking about one-to-one marketing on the internet for 25 years. But how do you do it? Well, it turns out if you have if you can capture the essence of the conversations and integrate that into an AI engine, you literally can provide personalized responses to conversations at scale. And so that's, depending upon what business you're in, it's very hard to ignore AI, and it's going to be very hard to ignore vCons in the age of AI, because it's not just telecom, it's how we communicate, it's how we connect. There's a human element to it, there's a personal element to it, there's certainly a business element to it. And if you're a solutions provider, if you're the chief product officer, can't ignore this. No. Also, if you deal with compliance, can't ignore it. It won't be tomorrow, but I promise you it's less than 5 years from now, you will find that when regulators are looking for certain key information, they're going to say, show me your vCons. We do expect that you have them. And then, in the United States, you have the state of California, the state of Texas, and a few other states that are very proactive right now protecting consumer rights. So it is imperative for companies to have ways and mechanisms in place to manage consent, particularly when the things, sensitive information is being recorded, to prove that the customer gave you consent or consent was implied. And did you have consent for every conversation, or consent with a specific purpose? And what are the preferences on that? And so memory and trust, memory from the vCon, trust from this SCID or supply chain integrity, transparency, and trust, those two work together. And it's just a matter of time. But this is the transformational stuff. And in telecom, one used to think that the conversation ended when you hung up the phone. The most beautiful part here is that's when our work starts. And the more you leverage this stuff, the better the information you have. And for so many years we've been ignoring the metadata of a conversation. It's like being a Hollywood director and leaving all this on the cutting room floor. And so now we have a chance to make money from that, to capture, create value, and otherwise just redefine the future today. So it's a big thing to embrace these technologies, and it's hard because why this protocol, why now? And the thing is that vCons were introduced to the Internet Engineering Task Force like 5 years ago. This was not in response to ChatGPT and large language models becoming the buzzword of the day. This happened a good 2 years or so before OpenAI came out.
Right.
So this is actually not reactive to the avalanche of AI services on business. This standardization process started prior. The timing's pretty impeccable though, because now that it's coming of critical mass, and the RFC will be issued in the next 12 months or less. That means that when vCons, and what's really cool is that it was envisioned by a friend and by friends who were part of the making SIP happen. And SIP is an enabling communication protocol of the internet. Anyone who's an MSP today is making lots of money from SIP. You're welcome.
Yes. Thank Jeff here. Thank Jeff.
It helped indirectly with some of that. And the reality is that the same engineers who spent a lot of brain power envisioning SIP and other real-time communication services have spent significant time, effort, and energy individually and collectively on building out what a vCon is and working on the gnarly under the hood stuff to make it really work, go from theory to practice. And so we're hosting the second ever vCon conference in the world, October 21st to 23rd in Dallas. And the reason I'm going to Dallas in May is to start building the momentum for our October event. And I'll tell you, ever since we left Hyannis, I've spoken to more people in the last few weeks than I had in the last few months regarding real world deployments where people are now taking this seriously because they get the impact of AI, they didn't get vCons, but now that they got to everyone seems to be getting to their own aha moment. It doesn't matter when I talk about it, but when their friends are talking about it, then they pay attention to it. And look, like anything, this is if there was an early adopter curve, despite the fact that there are over 30 companies I know about doing vCons right now, and a few service providers whose names are very well known around the world, you may consider everyone slightly below the early adopter curve, but it's going to shoot up real fast.
Yep.
And that is happening because we're working at the speed of AI.
Right.
So somewhere between the speed of light and the speed of quantum mechanics. And it's, you may want to slow things down to catch up, but now's not that time. Mm-hmm. If you're running, you have to run harder, and hopefully you won't run out of breath because, so pace yourself, but understand that this is an amazing ride through galaxies. And we're just at the very beginning of the future of communications.
No, Jeff, I think this week, while we're in Dallas and meeting everyone, we've got people who are coming and flying in just to do the meetup because they're literally building their agents, and they're building it now, understanding the file format and having what I consider an inner circle conversation, Jeff, this Thursday with us while we're there in Dallas, because they want to know what are those little nuances, what are those little things that maybe they're missed or they don't understand because they're just on this cutting edge, right, of adopting this file format into the technology.
Well, if you're building agentic AI agents, you ask yourself a question: do I want my agents to suffer from amnesia, or do I not? And until now, most people have been okay having amnesia. Which, if you're a customer or a consumer using these agents, it's one of the most frustrating things. I mean, I happened to recently needed to change flight information using an agent, and I'll pick on Delta because it was Delta, and I lost internet in between, and so I had to re-verify myself. I do appreciate they do authenticate that it's me, but then I had to retell the bot the same thing I told it, prior. It had no memory of the two sessions. It didn't connect the dots, and it was just frustrating. And then it's like, oh, okay, you actually have to talk to an agent. And then there was a 25-minute wait. I had to talk to them on voice, and once I spoke to them, they had no idea of all the details I previously shared because they didn't look at the chat. Now, wouldn't it be nice if Delta Airlines used memory and trust, this framework, inside their chatbots, so their chatbots would remember sessions? And I don't know, when it gets transferred to a voice agent, wouldn't it be nice if that voice agent had a record of today's conversations? Forget about my history with Delta that goes back 25, 30 years or longer. Let's just say just today, so the agent immediately knows what my pain point is, what my frustration is, what happened, and then can offer me compensation for delays that they may have been responsible for, or at least offer me a way home to get where I want to go. And so this is not so hard to figure out. If you're into customer service, building agentic AI solutions that have the ability to remember, very powerful. And if you're into that whole omni-channel idea of connecting all the dots together, wouldn't it be really nice to know every time someone interacted with your chatbot and also emailed you and also had voice conversations, I don't know, maybe you also had a consultation, so that if you're going to follow up, you get to know what they were talking about with your chatbot, they get to find out what was happening.
History.
History, so that now you're not coming in clueless. Imagine you going to see a doctor and your doctor had amnesia between your visits. Now, it might be that some doctors are so busy, they always have to refresh the client records, and it's nice to see they're checking your notes as they're having an annual physical. They really forgot me, didn't they? And it's like, we met 3 weeks ago, but they don't remember. But at least you can see they're human, and you maybe get that. But I expect more perhaps from a large organization whose core business is customer support and sales and that whole customer experience. Because the reality is, if people have invested in AI solutions 3 years ago, you got to dig deeper now, because that future changed. And now we're in the world of vCons, and there's so much you can do when you have a safe file format interconnected with a large language model. And I will mention, sometime in the near future, I'll be launching a masterclass series about the vCon, because I've gotten enough requests from people who want to learn about this in an interactive kind of way. So I'll be informally or formally launching in June the vCon masterclass, part of the ongoing work of the vCon Foundation, because to date, the vCon Foundation is a fun foundation to run. I'm the chief evangelist officer. Doesn't pay very well at the moment, but it's a lot of fun to evangelize the vCon. So now it's like, take it to the next step. Let's teach. Let's explore that future together. So because there's no need to wait till October to talk vCons. And I am grateful for the people who are all traveling to Dallas to have those chats, because I do think that if you are thinking about agentic AI, building solutions right now, want to better understand how AI could work into your workflow, we're going to have a wonderful conversation on Thursday.
Well, and I also want everyone to participate and join in and jump on Jeff Pulver's newsletter that he sends out. This is a report that he puts together every single week, and it's literally cutting edge information around the vCon, around the legislation, around the legal sector, around the multiple inventors of what I consider the next evolution of what technology will look like. And so they can sign up for the Jeff Pulver report as well.
Yes, they can. If you go to thejeffpulver.substack.com, they can pick it up. Today I had a throwback. I was thinking about org charts, because what people don't realize is that the idea for an org chart came in the days of the railroad during the first industrial revolution. And 170 years later, org charts is still there. And I was thinking about, what about org charts in the age of AI in business? How we might want to change our processes after 170 years, because we still have this idea that there's power from the top down, not necessarily the bottom up or on the edge. And so I explored how vCons can help in that process to better understand and better communicate internally. So that was in today's report. There's a lot going on every day. If you're looking for ideas, you're saying, okay, well, what can I do with this? Well, here's an open offer. If you're listening to this particular session today, I wrote a book called the vCon Application Playbook. I am happy to offer a working draft of the book. It has 150 applications about vCons. And what are you going to do with it? Well, I don't know, but if you're going to have an ideation session with you and your team, happy to share it with you. It was written in the style, assuming that I was talking to musicians. I was creating a, quote, cheat book where I gave out the 150 chords to 150 songs, so that you can figure out the melody. I assume you know the melody and the rhythm, and this is just to give you the chords to play. In a similar fashion, the vCon Application Playbook does not have a line of code in it. It assumes you can code. And right. I do tell you what the environment you need, but these are the ideas of what you can get out of it. And it's a whole range of things. And once you're there and you start riffing, you'll realize the sky is the limit, because not only are we seeing fundamental change once you capture a conversation, but there will be an entire third-party ecosystem of independent software developers building value on these buckets of vCons. And I expect to see in the near future a store where third-party developers are offering their solutions and insights to vCons captured across different markets.
Yeah. Thursday, guys, we're going to be in Dallas. Reach out to Jeff or myself so that you can connect with us. The registration link is still open. We are going to be shutting it down tomorrow because of the fact that our lunch counts and our number counts. We just want to make sure that everyone gets that intimate setting where they can talk to each other as well as talk to Jeff and be able to really have that conversation of how we're going to build the vCon community in Dallas in October. So, Jeff, I will see you and pick you up from the airport tomorrow.
Awesome.
And we are going to make hay while the sun is out, everybody. Thanks again, Jeff, for being here. And we will see everybody next week, Monday. I hope you had a great holiday weekend with your family.
Thank you, and I'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.